Welcome, gamers, to this week's episode of Last Call Gaming. We are on episode 8. My name is Craig Prowse, and joining me, as always, is Andrew Montemayor.
Yo.
You guys might notice we have a different background kind of set up today.
I'm liking it.
Yeah, trying something new. The other wall is being rearranged, so we decided to just kind of flip it around and see. But the icing on the cake of what is really new is I tell Andrew yesterday, I'm like, bring over a couple drinks, we'll pop them, we'll drink them, just like we always do. And he comes over with mimosa mix. And it's Saturday, baby, so we're recording this a day later than we normally do. We have a weird schedule, but we're drinking mimosas, and the mimosas are going down smooth, but the blackout always comes free. So, Andrew, I appreciate it.
Oh, well, I figured if we're going to be drinking in the morning, I'd at least like to start and feel like a normal person with some orange juice, you know?
Yeah, because normally we record late at night, and then we put it up in the morning. But, hey, morning dews call for morning brews, and champagne mimosa is the only way to do it. So, guys, we're here to talk about Final Fantasy VII Remake. There's been some rumors floating around that we kind of want to address.
Yeah, we just kind of want to talk about it and more, again, take it all with a grain of salt. We're not taking any of this as it's solidified. Just someone posted some stuff we found very interesting and maybe made me like the idea of an episodic, made me more okay with an idea of an episodic the way that they explained it. Because it's been something everyone's worried about, whether they said episodic, when's it releasing, and whatnot. And so just the way this guy kind of broke some stuff down made me think about it a little bit different, and it made me kind of, we were having a conversation about, well, what are you wanting out of this game? What am I really wanting out of this game? And so some of these things kind of align with how I think it should go, given whatever parameters that I thought would be enough just to bring to the table and at least talk about, have a discussion.
Yeah, so again, we're not trying to make a story out of what this guy posted.
Mountain out of a
molehill,
essentially
he just kind of gave some bullet points of what somebody told him. But we and him have been talking about Final Fantasy VII for months now, and he didn't say anything more than what we would have said, or at least guessed at.
Except for a few things.
A couple things did stand out. So we're just going to kind of take those and break them down and then kind of give our view on it. So the first thing that he says, and we kind of said this the other week, is that it's going to have a huge presence at E3, which is right around the corner. The thing that stood out to me that kind of makes sense is, well, Square Enix just took the best slot of E3, which is Sony's, right? If it takes over Sony's best slot, why not hit it with the best news everyone's been waiting for, is Final Fantasy VII?
Not just that, they're taking that slot. They previously said, we're not going to talk anymore about Final Fantasy VII or anything until, Kingdom Hearts 3 comes out.
Right.
They put out that trailer, says see more in June, E3's in June. That, and I want to say it's the day before or something like that. There's the big Final Fantasy VII Symphony that they've done. Only Final Fantasy VII for the first time. It's completely sold out now. The same weekend as E3. So it's kind of all the stars are aligning for that one.
Yeah, it's kind of perfect place, perfect time. Because again, this was a thing where everyone thought it was slowly dying, right? And no one thought Final Fantasy VII Remake was actually going to come to fruition because it just seemed year after year after year. It was
weird
delayed.
Stories like delayed, and now another studio's taking over from this one now, different director.
Yeah, and State of Play just came in, launched just a trailer, and then this news kind of comes out. But the other thing it says is there's going to be live demos. Do you think that's going to happen on the floor of E3?
Yeah, if they dropped. Well, yeah, of course there'll be a live demo. But
live play.
Yeah,
you'll actually play the game.
Yeah, no, I think that they would have to at this point. Like,
right.
They've already shown the clip. They've shown that the game's playable in some state. But I want to see something. Maybe show me the open world or just how the world's going to look. Or I think it's got to be more than just what they've shown, where it's like running around a piece of Midgar for 5 minutes, or something outside of Midgar. Maybe a little bit further on, something other than the first 5 minutes of the game, which is all they've shown gameplay wise.
Yeah, every trailer has just been kind of repetitive. So yeah, it'd be interesting to do it. And again,
show me Tifa.
Yeah. Oh God, please. We both kind of thought that, right? We thought E3 might be the spot. We already thought there was a live gameplay that's doable. So nothing crazy new there. The third thing that he kind of gets into was that, and again, it makes sense, is that they're going to expand on the plot of the game. They're going to also tweak locations. And I just started playing the Final Fantasy game on the Xbox today. And when you play it, those towns are, 4 houses big. It only makes sense that if they're going to reimagine these worlds,
it feel like
they look like there's a society in it. So
yeah.
nothing crazy really stood out with that one.
I mean, you're going through a lot of the places. I mean, I always found there's a lot of people you could talk to, and so I mean, you could add to that dialogue more people to meet. I mean, there's a lot for them to expand, but the question has always been, again, mountain out of a molehill. Do you want to expand on this 4-second walk from one end of the town to the other? You know,
Right.
Before it was like that for a reason. It's like, what are you going to add that's going to make it interesting? And again, I'm all for adding stuff like that, provided it is interesting. If it's just all
it fits the game.
yeah, if it's all
sense,
just bullshit to where it's like, I'm just talking to random NPCs that have nothing interesting to say. Then
Yeah, you don't need to make Nibbleham huge if I only need to go to 2 houses throughout the game that mean anything. So, all in context. The next thing he gets into, or at least expands on, is that, and again, we've talked about this as well, Yuffie and Vincent, 2 characters that are optional characters in the original Final Fantasy
we forgot to say light spoilers, of course, for a 20-year-old game. So, I mean, if you don't know what's happening now,
then... 20-year-old game. These are optional characters you can find in the original FF7.
But say now that they are optional to a degree, so you can maybe get them at a certain point.
No, Yuffie's supposed to...
the way he worded it is you can get them at a certain point, but if you go beyond that, like, and before you can completely miss Yuffie and Vincent. Now, what it is that you play it and you can get them at a certain point, but if you were to just pass it and keep playing the game, you'll run into them later on to where they are now mandatory to be in your party. So, I mean, I think that's kind of cool because there's always... I don't remember how I found Yuffie in the first place. I think maybe because I was a lot younger and I didn't really know how to play Final Fantasy. I played with like a guide and it told me how to find this chick or whatever.
Yeah.
But I want to say before I even had that guide, I just walked right past her. I would have had no clue.
I remember a buddy of ours in junior high, Michael Wagonblast, had a copy. His dad was a huge Final Fantasy guy and he had the strategy guide. And I don't know what I had to bribe him or give him, but I ended up getting it off of him. And so when I sat down and played FF7, I was lucky enough to have the whole book and look through it, and it breaks you down how to find these characters. But it's weird, though, because I couldn't imagine playing that game without those characters anymore.
Now, yeah.
You watch the movies, you watch anything that's canon within
Crisis
7,
Core,
they're
anything,
all
yeah.
integral for the storyline. So it'd be hard to imagine them moving forward on a remake without having those characters part of it, right?
Yeah, so I mean, that's kind of the big thing. I'm sure that's the big reason they did it, is they're so integral to the universe now that it's, you know...
Especially with, like, there's a game on, I believe it was PS2, Final Fantasy VII, Dirge of Cerberus, where it's literally a shooter where you're playing Vincent. So it's...
yeah.
So that makes sense. The next thing they move into, and this is kind of the big one that we've seen tidbits on, is how the combat's gonna work, right? So it looks like you'll have a menu pop up that's gonna kind of have a list of commands. Andrew, you've played like Final Fantasy 15. Is that similar to how that function would work, or how do you see Final Fantasy 7 moving from a turn-based RPG to a kind of a move around?
I feel like it kind of looks like that. Maybe a little bit of a mix of like Final Fantasy 12 in a way, where you're still waiting to attack. I hope it's a little bit more than what 15 is, because 15 they kind of really pushed like magic to the side. I felt like it was hardly useful at all. I didn't really use it that much. And you could really, I mean, on the easy, you could just spam the attack button a lot of the time, especially if you had like
shit out of it.
Yeah, especially if you have a good setup. I mean, you could really do that. Like, any Final Fantasy game, if you're overpowered, you just spam X or whatever and just cruise through. But it seems like hopefully it'll be a good mixture of, because like I said, I really didn't like what they did with magic in 15. They kind of really just kind of pushed it to the sides, where I used it maybe like once or twice during the game. I didn't find myself using it at all ever. Right,
so that game's kind of adapted where it's not incredibly needed, where in Final Fantasy 7 it revolves around it, right?
Yeah,
we have things like summons
like
Bahamut and Shiva and Ifrit and Knights of the Round, and they're supposed to be making an appearance in this game. The question is, how do you do it? Because I can't wrap my head around that. I can see like Shiva or Ifrit popping up as maybe like a time down character that's shooting, splash damage or something.
I think they were all right in 15. I think 15 kind of...
How'd they do it?
Like 15, it's got to be like a certain sort of scenario to where it can happen. And sometimes, like, if you're losing or whatever, sometimes it just happens randomly, really. I would have to look more in depth into it, because I just played the game. I didn't look up a guide. I just, played it. But you'll get them, it'll show up, and it goes through, like, a whole animation, like what it used to.
Okay,
like,
cool.
Where, someone's summoning lightning, crashing down
on
the earth and whatever.
I don't mind that.
So it's like a whole nother thing. It's not like 10 where you actually summon the person, they're fighting for you out there and stuff like that. It's like an actual cinematic that you're watching. So I'm sure it would be the same way. You summon Shiva, she does whatever, the whole ice and freezes everybody out.
It's cause and effect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the other thing they were saying is how, like, Materia is still going to be really heavily involved in it, but, like, slightly different from what we're used to. So you still need to pair up your materia with characters that make sense. Like, you don't want to be loading up magic on, like, let's say a Cloud who's a heavy melee wielder versus a Barrett or Vincent who are kind of a range character. So they're still saying that's going to play some sort of effect in
which is cool. I do like, too, if you, like, look at some of the videos. If you go back, they have some of the breakdowns of it. I don't know if you've seen one. I forgot to bring this up to you. So, like, when you see Cloud at the beginning, in one part of it, he only has... You know how he has his Buster Sword? There's 2 slots on it because he can only fit 2 materia realistically into his weapon anyways.
Fire and ice.
There's one materia.
I'm sorry, ice and lightning.
You'll see it in there. There's one materia actually in there. And then later on in that state of play, he's got 2 in the slot.
So the visuals are actually
you can physically see them,
like that.
And when it's empty, there's like a little hole-shaped divot right there. So I thought that was pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. I
just
like
little attention to detail. I really like stuff like that.
So again, the combat, the magic materia, the one that kind of caught our eye, because the last episode we were talking about this thing's going to be episodic, right? And what does episodic mean in terms of this?
What they keep comparing it to is like 13, like how 13 is an episodic game. And I hate 13. I cannot stand it. I personally, I like Lightning's character-ish, but I really just, the way they broke that game down, I don't like it. I don't even really like, if you're trying to call some episodic in a way like 10-2, it's not the same vein.
It's like a game and then the next game, where this is Final Fantasy VII is, if everyone remembers, is 3 discs, right? So we're under the assumption that they're breaking it down.
Well, that's how they've always kind of made it sound. And what this guy's rumor said, which never even occurred to me realistically, was that they're going to break it down into 2 games, which I would be happier with that. I don't know how... Again, like leveling and stuff like that would work. Is that going to carry over to the next game? That sort of thing works. If you only buy the second game and you don't play the first one, does it auto jump you to like 50 or, that sort of thing? So besides that, if they were to break it down into 2 games versus 3 games, which it wasn't even a possibility in my mind, because I don't know why you'd break it into episodic in the first place, I would be a lot happier with that.
Well, I took it as it's not 2 separate games, that it's going to be you're going to buy Final Fantasy VII at, let's say, I would hope not 60, and then you're already locked into getting the next part when it's made. Kind of like a Telltale, where you would buy the game. About it like that. You buy the game, you get episode 1, and then 3 months later, episode 2 comes out, and then 3 months later, you've already bought the game, you get it all. But that's the way I took it as. It's going to come in a part. So because you're saying it makes sense, like the leveling. How would that work? But
I took it as like standalone, like I said with 13, like 13's episodic. Like those are 3 different games that you have to purchase.
Yeah, I took it as like a Telltale where you bought the full game and they're giving you bits at a time.
No, I didn't even know that's how you thought about it. I wouldn't.
Have we not had this conversation about how we define episodic?
Maybe not,
or at least our versions of it.
We have 2 completely different versions of what we think they're going to do, but I don't think that they would do that at all.
Really?
Yeah, no way.
Then I'm curious then what you guys think. How do you think the episodic Final Fantasy, if it is episodic, which we're almost guaranteed at this point that is, how do you think it breaks down? Is it separate games that you're buying? Is it one game that they're going to, kind of like DLC is free that kind of stacks on? That's an interesting point. I can't believe we haven't had this conversation. I could have sworn we've talked about this before. But
I mean, the biggest part of the episodic, then the way he breaks it down per just this, since that's what we're going over, is spoilers, of course, that it would end with Aerith's death.
For part 1, right?
For
episode 1
ends with Aerith's death, which is tons of people out there who haven't played Final Fantasy VII, that would be such a crazy cliffhanger to end right there. This person you've been playing with, you don't know she's going to die.
Think about that. Yeah, that's a good spot to end it.
And then you play maybe a little bit longer, and then the screen just goes to black and credits roll. Like, that would be a pretty emotional ending for something like that. And then 2 just picks right back up from whatever.
Yeah.
You're starting with the fallout of her death, how it's affected this team and stuff like that. That would actually make a lot of sense, and that would be really cool.
I'm trying to think of how far into the game, because that's not the end of disc 1, is it? I don't think it is.
I would have to go back and think about it.
I'll find out here in a second. But
even if you don't break it down disc-wise, how far into the game how many hours is it? Are you speedrunning the game? Are you doing all the little side shit?
Because I'm curious. Let's say you're playing it legit. How far into Final Fantasy VII is her death? Right, naturally playing. And then translated into a new remade thing with new cutscenes and new locations to explore. What does that translate into, right? Is 10 hours on the old one the same as 10 hours into the new one?
100 farthings.
100 farthings.
I mean, the biggest part of that, though, too, is the way he broke it down and said you wouldn't have to wait long because I'm assuming they would reuse assets from game to game, is that the first part is going to release this year.
Yeah,
November
of this year.
He put a hard month.
We were all speculating a window was going to come of when it was coming. He's saying November this year,
and then follow up next year. I think it said something like that.
So
either way, we'll find out in June. You can take this with a lot less salt provided, because that's a hard month. So I mean, I would imagine they would have to. I don't know if they would give a release date, a solid date for this game, unless it is that ready and we're just really out of the loop as far as what they've really shown. But I would imagine whatever they show off at E3 has to have a release window and a year.
Yeah, so we're saying if it comes out on E3, there's a date coming. It'd be fucking awesome, though, if it is November, because that's, 5-6 months away? And if this game's coming out in 5 or 6 months, which makes kind of sense. I mean, 7's been popping up over all these platforms recently, and it was dormant for so long, quiet, no one's hearing about it, and then boom, it comes out with this thing, and then icing on the cake is, guys, 5 months later is, here's Final Fantasy VII Episodic Part 1, so... A lot of good things to take in, guys, but again, this is all speculatory. Nothing's been confirmed. We're looking at a story, and we're just kind of feeding our thoughts on top of that. So, what do you guys think is going to happen with Final Fantasy VII? You guys let us know down in the comments. But the next thing that we're looking at,
which is pretty highlight. I like it.
The more I looked at it, the more I've watched this thing like 3 times. So, Nintendo Direct came out with the Super Mario Maker 2 full trailer, full new feature add-on. It looks impressive. Andrew, we just watched it again.
I watched it the other day, and I kind of didn't pay attention to it. Then I'm kind of glad I just rewatched it again.
Because looking out from the side, you're like, okay, it's a game where you can essentially build your own Mario levels, custom make it, right? And on paper, that sounds fun. When you look at what you're actually able to do, it's quite impressive.
I think when I watched it the other day, I muted it because I was playing. I forgot. I was playing something that I had muted, but I just wanted to watch it to see what it looked like or whatever. But watching it now, like I really liked it. I like it a lot. I'm not into like building, so I wouldn't be in it for the building aspect. Like if you're into that, more power to you. There's a whole lot of shit on there that you can do, which is really cool. But I personally go on YouTube and I watch some of these people, because it always shows up my feed is the Impossible Mario level. I'm watching these people try and do all these crazy levels.
Yeah.
Like, I think a lot of that stuff is really, really cool.
And we're on the point of having 1,000 Impossible Mario levels, right?
Not to mention that it is an absolutely beautiful game. Like,
yeah, it's gorgeous.
Like you can take 3D, the old 2D.
So what you get is you get Mario 1, Mario 3, Super Mario World,
3D,
and Super Mario Wii U, and then this particular version is now offering Super Mario on the 3DS. 3D.
Yeah, and so you have all these different graphics that you can blend, which all look gorgeous. And even when they had like a million things on screen, didn't slow down like a bit. There was not even for a second, no dip. But Nintendo's always about that quality control.
The thing is that I think the reason why it caught my eye is the first one came out only on the Wii U, which it was a system that I know one person. I know one person that owns it, and they have one game, and so
it's not Mario Maker.
Yeah, it wasn't Mario Maker, so nobody got to play it, and it came out also on the 3DS, and I know there's a lot of 3DS fans out there. They have their gaming community. But I don't know if this is where you put that kind of thing. So the Switch is
it's cool to have it on there, but I can't imagine like me just building all the shit.
With your stylus. So the Switch version comes out on, on June 28th, 2019. So this is right around the corner. And
again, I like that. Short burst. They just announced it. Show the trailer. Hey, the game's out in a month. The game's out in 2 months. The game's out relatively soon. You can buy it ASAP. We're not going to sit here and shove it down your throat
for a year, 2 years,
10 E3s in a row. Yeah. So I'm loving it.
So the game has, which is weird because I watched the trailer for Mario Maker, the first one, and I was like, oh, this guy's, what is this doing that number 2 is not? When we sit down and actually look at what number 2 is offering, so I usually try to write out some notes. I was going point by point of what this thing was newly offering. It was so overwhelming, I had to stop. I'm like, oh, like you couldn't do this in number 1? Like, that blows my mind. But now that you're looking at number 2, you're like, wow, they added that much more to it.
I think my favorite thing that they've added out of the features is they added like a night mode, which changes the
great
map.
Concept.
And so when you're playing, certain things will happen. So like instead of the water in the forest they showed, for example, it's a big pool of poison instead of water. Or if you go underground, instead of playing normally, you're going upside down. Or there's certain areas where it's like your outer space physics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like that was really cool. Added like a whole new element.
It was crazy to watch because the way I was looking at it is me and my brother spent tons of times playing Mario games. What stands out to me is an 8-year-old now has the potential to start making games. I was talking to Andrew earlier. This thing is riddled with potential of new game makers that are now going to be able to start taking in concepts of building traps, building rooms, setting enemies, placing items. Like, I didn't even think about that till I was really looking at it. I'm like, dude, this would have been awesome when I was 10 years old playing Mario, that I can now build my own Mario game and just learn from it.
Learn basic level design and stuff like that. What makes and does not make, What was your favorite thing from this?
My favorite thing, I think, was because I always love new power-ups and new weapons that you can use. And there's a point in this where you can now equip the dry bones.
That was pretty cool.
Essentially what he does is he hops in the dry bones shell, and you can jump on lava, right? Lava is not going to kill you anymore. The other thing that I didn't even see coming is everyone knows that when you hit a dry bones, the bones kind of splatter. You can walk over them, no big deal, and then it comes back to life, so it never technically dies. If you're about to get hit by a weapon or an enemy or a blast, you can use that same power, crumble,
to collapse. Yeah, that was
right.
Pretty cool.
Goes right over you, and you can come back in. I thought that stood out to me. The other thing was the addition of this character Boom Boom. He was in Super Mario Brothers 3, and I always thought that my uncle made that name up and called him Boom Boom because he had a rap when we were kids. He's like, boom, 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 go back to your room so we can party all night because I do it so right.
Which guy was that one?
What's that? Boom Boom was the guy that was running around with his arms.
Oh, he's the boss that's just going like that
he's
the
in
whole
number
time?
3. He's in number 3, the first mini castle.
Yeah, the dude who just goes like that the whole time.
And so I always thought he made that name up. I'm like, oh, cool, he made a rap to it. That's cool. And then I find out that his name actually was Boom Boom. I'm like, okay.
Someone read the manual.
And then the other thing, because I'm more impressed with the enemies. And again, I thought number 1 had this. The sun, the angry sun that everybody didn't know moved until you fucking ran and started scooping at you. I thought that was really cool. But there's tons of stuff we can talk about, guys. That's a whole episode. I kind of want to get into what specifically this new one's offering. So the first thing is that it's got a co-op mode that you can now build levels simultaneously. Me and Andrew could sit down and literally build a level at the same time. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest draw for me, and what makes me want to play is the online aspect to it, because you can now not just build levels together, you can play levels together, co-op, and just try to work together. But I think my favorite, because I'm always competitive, like with my brother and my cousins and stuff, is you can compete with each other.
Yeah, the modes.
And so you're just trying to race to the end. You can try to mess up other people by doing certain things that might cause the enemy to go to them and they die, or you're all fighting a boss together, but it's the first one to get to the end that actually wins it. So that was my favorite thing, because I'm super competitive, so I like that.
Yeah, the co-op, being able to set these own kind of games is awesome, because you can set up a mode to where you can put rules on it, to where you can first one to 100 coins, first one to the finish line, first one to get this, first one to get that, and it's awesome. The other thing is you can upload your game. I think you can do this at number 1, but you can upload your games to the internet, and then other people can vote on them. Other people can play them. You can also download them to where when you're offline, it's still on your Switch.
I like that they added, like, I don't know if it was in the first one, but they had it's almost like Dark Souls, where you can leave a message saying, watch out, be careful when there's like a trap or something like that, for maybe people who like playing with the hints.
Yeah, I mean, everything about the co-op looks fun, and it's definitely going to be a game where you want to get 2 to 3 players on and just take advantage of everything that game has to offer.
Yeah, that online looks at like where it's at. I mean, that was my favorite thing about that whole thing, was just the fact that I could compete with somebody just trying to speed run maybe this hard ass level where we're all just getting knocked constantly. Like, that seemed like so much fun.
The other big thing that this game had to offer that I didn't even realize number 1 did not have at all was a story mode. Right, so I'm looking cool. back and going, so number 1 just kind of threw you in as a building, as tools to start building this game. Number 1, even if you don't want to do the building aspect of it or play the other games, there's a story mode where you can go in, you can collect coins. Essentially, what you're trying to do is rebuild Peach's castle, so you're collecting coins that essentially buy you parts of labor.
Show the inside of her castle, because they just showed the outside. That'd be cool if it's like Mario 64, you go in, you can see the whole.
Hey, you already finished yours? I just realized I just poured him another one, and I'm still halfway on mine. This guy's an animal.
Oh.
The guy's a purebred.
It's Saturday.
It's Saturday, and we out here. So I'm trying to think if there was anything else that really stood out. You mentioned the night. So again, guys, there's tons of stuff to look at in this game. We can't get into all of it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're into that sort of thing, even if you like just playing competitively competitively
Blah, 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 blah.
with friends, I would recommend this game. Because I hate builders overall. Like, I don't have the time. I don't want to come home and build my own thing. It seems cool, but I would never do it. I would personally buy this game just to play the online levels.
I was gonna say, that's the thing.
And just to play with my friends and stuff like that.
The beauty of this game is that there's 3 aspects of play. There's the building, there's the playing of new Mario games on a daily basis. Like, that's what blows my mind. Like, anyone that wants to go, oh, how come they don't make a sequel to number 3 or a sequel to number 1? You now have tens of thousands of potential games that are going to be coming out where you can play a new Mario game probably every day for the rest of your fucking life.
Not to mention,
if there is new content being made by hundreds of players.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. A million people out there all making whatever stuff. And it's pretty cool too. Like, so I'm sure it was on there before, but like, you can just tag everything too. So if you want something easy, you can look for easy stuff, puzzle solving. If you're just looking for speed running,
break it down to a
genre,
so you can do it to what.
So I didn't realize it was that in depth for how you could like tag a level and stuff. That's pretty cool to.
It's odd that Nintendo has a tool like that they're just simply putting out as a game and
you think that's how they build Mario games, is just with those tools?
Maybe now, Jesus. Well, let me ask you this: what other Nintendo game could you see them doing this with? Could you make a Donkey Kong like this? Make a Donkey Kong world where there's
I can see Donkey Kong, because Donkey Kong you're doing the same thing. You're just getting from point A to point B.
Right.
I don't think it would work with like a Zelda maker, like a dungeon maker, because Zelda's a story.
A dungeon maker though would be an interesting twist if in a couple years they actually. Because obviously they did this, and it's perfect, essentially. If they were to do that and come out with a cool dungeon builder, because I've played like RPG Maker, and I don't know, I never really got them. They weren't that great.
I think it'd be cool if they added like a paper aspect to like Paper Mario.
Actually, I was going to ask you that. Why do you think Paper's not in there?
Because Paper Mario is not like a definitive start and end. It's like a whole story. It's a whole world.
Just graphically. Everything. I mean, not in terms of the way you explore the world, but why can't Mario? Because you can switch between 1, 3 worlds.
Oh yeah, I don't know. That would be pretty cool.
I was curious of why the paper wasn't on there.
Nintendo, you heard it here. Put that paper in.
Put that paper in. So we actually did that pretty good. We are done with the 2 main topics of the day. So Andrew, but I know you have something on your mind, and it's kind of an interesting topic that's been floating around. Why don't you tell me what's going on?
Well, for starters, are you talking about the Microsoft and Sony?
Yes, sir. So
they've announced that they are now, for whatever it means and as vague as it is, that they're working together with Microsoft and Sony are going to work together on Azure, Microsoft's essentially cloud system, which they use for like their cloud streaming, the power of the cloud that they were going on with forever.
Cloud Strife, baby. He's coming in hot this year.
Serenity Cloud.
Serenity Cloud.
Serenity Cloud. Serenity Cloud.
Serenity Cloud. And Standard later.
So what that means for I have no clue what it means. Like it's
a guessing game at this point.
Yeah. I mean, it's just an announcement, which is why we're not going too in depth to it, because it could mean a million different things. Like, is Sony gonna use this and maybe they have to split the fruits of their benefit, because they're essentially working together to work on new cloud streaming solutions is what they're saying.
Cloud streaming services,
but using Microsoft's Azure as the base. So obviously, I'm sure Sony's not going to want to license up and play something for Microsoft if they do find something big and it turns into this big thing. Yeah. I don't know how that whole thing would work, but I mean, it's cool to see 2 people working together that are at the forefront of their industry, trying to make like a big strive in something. They don't have to share games or whatever, but they could both use better online infrastructure as far as like, streaming games, or like, your games to your Xbox, like streaming it like as a service, like what the Stadia is doing or something like that, which I'm sure this is in somewhat of a direct response too.
Yeah, it's crazy because this is by no means normal for Sony. Sony has been, ever since they got burned by Nintendo at like CES, whatever year that was, they're a lone stallion. They ride solo. They're a lone wolf. I think they're starting to see a little bit of the writing on the wall where Microsoft is looking around going, hey, you know what, man? We know cloud services going on, right? Because they have, what is it, their xCloud? Is that what their cloud system is going to be? Right? It's something along those lines.
Yeah,
and they're also, I mean, they're already partnered up with Nintendo, and they have a partnership. Sony at this point is looking around going, you know what, we're the last guys that are kind of still not struggling in terms of hardware sales. They're doing great, but
we're only going to play in our own sandbox. Yeah, we're doing great, but we're not going to.
PSN is not
talk to anyone else. We're just going to do
anywhere
our own
near
thing.
what some of these other companies are doing. So,
and that's it could just be for simple stuff like that, like the store functions.
And again, it's all hypothetical of why they're getting together. We're not trying to make a big story out of it because there's tons of those going around. We're just letting you guys know that Microsoft and Sony are partnering together and something is happening, right? And the best guess is that It's to compete with stuff like Stadia, to get cloud services running on both systems adequately and running well.
Yeah, running peak. You're taking top minds from both companies and just really getting them out there. Then, who knows what they could come up with.
Yeah, because at this point it's just a guess. Whatever they come out with is probably technology
that
we're
nothing.
not even aware of yet.
Yeah,
and again, it could be
it could be nothing.
Who
So that's why we're not going to make a mountain out of a molehill. But it is just interesting to see kind of all these companies kind of coming together, in some type of way.
It's odd though, because not odd. I guess kind of interesting that Xbox, Microsoft kind of seems to be this middleman that kind of gets, that's connecting these dots. So like, all right, we'll partner up with Nintendo and put some games on yours, some games on ours. We'll partner up with Sony and let's kind of combine our cloud structure and see how we're running. And I think that's a better ecosphere. I mean, obviously competition, is good for the industry, and Stadia came out. Well, guess what happened? Microsoft and Sony are now together to make something, assumingly. I like a world where we're living where games, well, they're not competing necessarily heads up, but let's build something together. Let's get Nintendo running as powerful as it can be. Let's get Sony running as good as it can be. Let's get Xbox running as good as it can be.
Yeah.
Or do you have a different opinion on that?
I mean, online as far as it goes.
Online, yeah. Not in terms of game-wise. I don't want God of War leaving, PlayStation. It sells the system. I don't want Spider-Man leaving PlayStation. It sells the system. I don't want Halo leaving Xbox and, I guess now with PC. It sells the system. But in terms of getting good internet connection, and because crossplay is the name of the game, right? We want to be able to do crossplay. And now that if Xbox is with Nintendo and Sony, that just opens door for crossplay, right? Because what's the argument?
Yeah, that's the thing is Sony's whole argument is, we're not sure that whatever else is out there is going to be best for us. So it's, I don't know. It's a whole thing. I mean, again, it all could just be nothing though, is the big thing for it though. So here's hoping though.
Yeah, guys. There's tons of videos that will kind of break it down more, but again, it's all speculative. There's no hard facts of what they're actually doing. But Andrew, I wanted to riff on this because you were on my ass for a couple days about it. We both just saw Detective Pikachu, and I gotta say,
I loved it.
I gotta say, my original answer of best video game movie, I think, is still Tomb Raider. If you're an overall movie watcher, if you are a diehard video game fan and love Pokemon, or at least conceptually aware of what Pokemon is, this is the best video game movie, right? Because
I'll still take Mortal Kombat over it just because I've seen that movie since I was a kid forever and ever, and I fucking love that movie. But this is almost so close. I loved this movie. Like, I don't give scores to things, but if something deserved like a 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 from me, it would be Detective Pikachu. Like, I love this movie that much. I had nothing but great things to say. It was so much fun. Like, I had just seen Endgame like a week beforehand.
You had more fun in 2 than you did game?
Endgame's not like a fun movie. That movie's in a whole different kind of experience. So it's not fair to compare the two to each other. But even so, I went and saw like John Wick 3 last night, and I had more fun seeing Detective Pikachu. Yeah,
nice. Oh, still over. Okay.
Yeah, both movies. Okay. I would go see both of those movies again at theaters. So John Wick 3, I loved. I thought it was great.
I'm watching Wick 3
but
tomorrow.
if you were to, hey, let's go watch a movie right now, out of all those, I would say let's go see Detective Pikachu.
I would say it's got rewatchability for sure because
I can't wait to rewatch it.
I was trying to watch it, and there's just you don't get to see 150 Pokemon, but there's tons of guys where, when you're looking at the screen, I'm just like, okay, who's here? And that's what I'm saying. I think for the gamer fans, this movie's right up your alley.
It's good to see a video game movie done right.
Yeah, or at least done as well as it can be up to this point.
Almost
right?
perfect. Yeah. No, I would say that movie, like you said, it's amazing. If you haven't seen it, if you were even worried about it, go out there and go and check it out, because even if you don't love it like me, I would be willing to bet that you'll at least like it.
Yeah, again, it's definitely a hard like. I think from anyone that's just a gamer is going to go, yeah. Or that even likes Pokemon. Yes, I would say.
I think that movie hit everything right.
Yeah.
All the nostalgic chords.
And again, let's not say that it's perfect. There's weak points in it. There's things that were just like, how that happened.
Perfect,
the acting isn't the strongest. But again, it's a video game movie. Let's take that with what a video game movie is. Yeah. It's high tier. It's top tier. So.
Me and him differ on some of the things, but I'll give that movie a 9.
Tell me that reporter's acting isn't trash.
I know she fits right in the Pokemon
Every
universe.
scene she was on, I was just like, she was just trying to be like a Nurse Joy, like the way she just talked. I was like,
and I loved it. So I'll give that movie like a 9.5 out of 10.
I'd give it a solid 8. So
9 to 9.5 for me. Out of
solid
10.
8. Where we at on time? We're looking pretty good.
Well, if we're riffing, I got a couple. Do you have anything you want?
I want to end it with a new segment question. So
okay, well, I have 2 riffs personally that I want to go over. 2 riffs. Nothing crazy, just some big thoughts, small news.
Okay.
Since you just started Final Fantasy VII, a few weeks ago when I was riffing and I said that Final Fantasy VII, they had that music bug in there. Or no, not a few weeks ago, months ago. When I was talking about Final Fantasy VII, they for those of you who didn't watch it, Final Fantasy VII, if you get it on Xbox One or Switch, PS4, there's a music loop bug on there to where if you're in the open world, you start a fight with somebody, you finish the fight, wherever the music was back in the open world, it starts over again from the beginning of the song, from the top of the song. It does not start over from where it left off. And so those games have great, amazing soundtracks.
Like this. I'm not in the open world yet.
Well, so I'll tell you that they just actually patched that.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Yeah, so they patched it. So here's what's even weirder, which is why I'm kind of getting into the riff of it, is they just patched
because
it.
They probably watched that episode.
Yeah, they didn't do it for 9, but I'll be honest, I really haven't noticed it 9, because I've been playing 9 lately, but I haven't put a million hours into it yet to where I'm like, oh, okay, that is annoying. I kind of noticed it the other day. But 9's not my favorite. I would notice it more with 7. 7's music is more iconic for me than 9.
Oh, man.
So I'm glad that they fixed it. I'm glad I waited out. But they only, they didn't fix it for 9 yet. They only fixed it for Xbox and Switch. So PlayStation 4
so anyone
still has that weird glitch. And I'm like,
odd thing.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like,
that's got to be that infrastructure.
Yeah.
So once this Microsoft Sony merge comes over, we'll be fixing problems like that.
Yeah, I was like, that's so weird. But
that is an odd thing to do.
Yeah, I was
or
like,
not do, I guess.
Yeah, because it's been on PS4 for like 2.
It was on there first.
Yeah, it's been on there like 2 years now.
What a weird thing. That's funny.
The other riff I'll have, and which is
popping?
Good for you people.
You people
is EA Access is coming to PS4 now. It's something that's been on Xbox for...
I didn't know it was on PS4.
Yeah, no, it has not.
I have it on Xbox.
When it was announced, PS4 said, we don't know if that's going to be the best value for our players, a.k.a. we don't want anyone spending any money on other bullshit that's not our own. And EA Access I think has been a great value. It's like $30 for a whole year.
That's the thing. It's not monthly. $30 whole year,
or $5 a month.
And if you're a sports fan, you're going nuts.
Anything you get Battlefield,
Effect,
you get 10,
Age,
you get 10
Unravel.
free hours for every new game that comes out. So that's finally coming to PS4. So for all you guys who haven't, I would recommend at least checking it out, having it for a month or 2.
Great point.
I have not canceled it, and I love EA Access.
I actually once upon a time did cancel it, and I was like, what the fuck am I doing? $30 for a year, and I get X amount of games, and I picked it back up.
Yeah, because not only do you get free like if a new Battlefield came out tomorrow, you get 10 free hours in it. But also, then when you buy it, your stuff transfers over.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's like the whole game. But after a year, 6 months, whatever, once the game's done out in the wild, they add it to the vault, and then you can just download it for free and pick right back up where you left off too. So I mean, there's a ton of games in there I could go back and play.
Yeah, that's wow. I didn't know it was on.
And they even have, and it's not even just modern games. They have stuff in there like. The original 3 Dead Spaces are in there.
Dead Space, yeah, I remember that.
They have like 360 games in there.
Don't they do Plants vs. Zombies?
Yeah, Plants vs. Zombies is in there as well too, 1 and 2. So I mean, it's a lot of value for $30 out of a year, or $5 a month, whatever you want to do. It is a lot of value that I would tell you to at least try it once, especially I have a huge backlog that I don't even play half of them sometimes. At this point, I'm really only playing it because my warm-up game before I do anything is Skate 3.
And Skate's on there, right? Yeah.
And so that's really the only reason I have it. But I do play... when Battlefield 5 came out, I didn't buy the game. I played the 10 hours, decided I didn't like it, saved me $60.
There you go. This news needs to go to Dante if you're listening. You got a PS4, bro. Pay the $30. You get a year of 30 games.
Yeah, there's shit ton of stuff in there.
So that's a shout out to you, brother.
Eventually Anthem will be on there.
Yeah, that's coming. So... I want to end this little bit with a question. I'm going to call it the video game question of the week. Right?
Okay.
That's going to be a new thing we're going to start. I don't know if it'll be every episode. It'll be here and there. I'll let Andrew pick the next one if and when he's ready. Would you rather, Andrew, live in a world that had Final Fantasy in it or Mario, but not the other or. So, and live in a world that only had Final Fantasies in it? Or
Oh, Mario, hands down.
Hands down?
Hands down Mario, yeah.
Really?
As much as I love Final Fantasy, and I put 10 as one of my favorite games of all time. And this is coming from a perspective of what's funner and has, I don't know.
Are you saying that only based on
your
your childhood bringing up?
Yeah, because it's weird to think so. And it's not, I'm not even taking into account, like, without no Mario, there is nothing else. There's no Buffalo. There's no game industry. I know, it was a joke.
That was a hot switch.
Yeah,
everybody caught that. We're Buffalo fans around here.
But, Mario has been way more influential to anything. So not even taking that into account, like, just which games would I rather have that I could access at any time? I'd rather have any Mario games to access at any time than any Final Fantasy games to access at any time.
Okay.
Hands down.
Interesting point. Which is your...
and what about you?
What's your favorite Mario game?
I'll break it down in a few different categories. So
we don't got the time.
Oh, we got nothing but time. I'll say Mario Kart Double Dash for racing types. Mm-hmm. I will say Super Mario World for the side-scrolling collect-em-all types. And then I'll say, as far as outside of any other realm, Mario and the Thousand Year Door for the RPG or the other weird types. Ready. But I want to hear Final Fantasy or Mario for you.
I was leaning towards Final Fantasy when I was thinking of the question because I love number 1. I love number 6. Number
I love
7
a lot of them, yeah.
Made me fall in love with RPGs.
Hands down, like better stories,
7
better
made
themes.
Me the gamer that I am, but you can't deny that Mario's sheer volume.
Mario taught you how to hold the controller to become the gamer that you are.
Every genre of game, because think about it, Mario is in every genre of game. He's in fighting, he's in racing, he's in platformers, he's in open worlds.
And some people say he never really left.
The answer is Mario, and I'm sure there's nobody.
Mario or Mario?
It's Mario. I thought you may have leaned towards Final Fantasy just because of how big of a Final Fantasy fan you are.
As much as I love it, there's no way, hands down. If I were to go and pick up a game like right now, and I'm like, oh hey, I just want to play it and have fun, it's not gonna be Final Fantasy.
Nice. Well, that's the question. And did you like it? You want to come?
Yeah, no, that was pretty cool. I'll come up with one.
Okay, cool. So we're running short on time, so let's not get into our highs and lows. Andrew, quickly tell us what your. I'll start first since I've already kind of mentioned it. Tell me what you're playing. I've been jumping into Final Fantasy VII, which we mentioned, but I also just started playing a game called For the King, which is on the Game Pass, and it's kind of this mixture of like an open world tabletop RPG where you get to select these. I've only played a few missions, but you get to play these 3 characters. You get to select there's like a blacksmith, a scholar, or a hunter, or an archer, and you kind of get to move around these worlds. They open up quests. You get to battle monsters to where it's on a hex grid. So let's say you're moving up and you
Final Fantasy Tactics.
Yeah, essentially kind of like that. But instead of everyone's battling on like a tactile grid, if I were to run into a monster, a highlight grid lights up. So anything in that field is affected. So if I only have 2 of my 3 guys in there, and monsters around are only 2, that's who's in the battle. The cool thing is you can play it co-op. So if you want to jump on and Gino wanted to jump on, those 3 characters, we can all be moving in different spots and doing our own little quests. And then, so I don't know, it's a really cool game if you guys are into anyone into like D&D.
How long have you been playing it?
I did the first mission.
Well, then you're too far gone. I can't join. Sorry.
No, because that's the thing. You can start new games and beat different quests. So it's not based on a leveling up system where my guys are saved in this state. I'll download that tonight.
I've been begging for you to play something together.
Dude, I said on the Snapchats. So Andrew, what are you playing?
As you said, Final Fantasy VII. I started Final Fantasy IX.
That's the only reason I started playing Final Fantasy.
And I'm loving it. I'm just cruising through it. I am kind of achievement hunting for some things. I'm not gonna beat the game and get to a certain spot in under like 10 hours to get the fucking sword or whatever. I'm not gonna 100% it, but I'm really loving it. I'm really enjoying it. For the Final Fantasy that I would say that I played the least, outside of the ones I haven't played at all, I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm really,
how's the story
really
coming back to you? Because Gino's playing it too, and he was telling me, he's like, man, I almost kind of forget. Like, we all have 9 in our head. I got a little, I don't know if you can even see it. Zidane's right there.
Well, actually, right now, it's the one that I have never beaten. I remember running it as a kid.
Okay,
but it froze at a certain spot. Oh. And I just passed that point in the game.
Nice.
But
Backward Blackness.
But dude, playing up until that point, so I don't know how I'm going to feel about the rest of the game, because maybe I'll love it, maybe I'll hate it. But up until that point, I've really been enjoying it, because it just made me feel like, because I only had played that game as a kid, that it made me feel like that kid again, going to Blockbuster, renting this fucking game, and watching all this stuff. And so it really gave me that feeling. Surprisingly, I didn't think I would get that at all, but from the game that I only played maybe once or twice.
And if I'm not mistaken, both 7 and 9 are on the because we're playing them both on Xbox, are on there for at least I think $15 to $20, right? I think Final Fantasy 7 was
Final Fantasy
9
9 is 20.
It's 20
and 7 is 15. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I don't know what's up with that, but
very affordable, very doable, very Final Fantasy if that's up your alley.
Yeah, if you're just trying to run through like I am, I'm not. I don't have time to do the grind or anything anymore. There's modifiers on there that give you like 999 attack, or it'll help with your health and stuff like that. You could easily just turn those on and run through the game. So I'd recommend it. I'm having a ton of fun through it. Because I was in a party with your brother the other day. Me and him were both playing. He's in a different spot than I am, but I'm kind of. He is.
Okay, he's been playing a little.
Yeah, he's played more. I'm actually surprisingly really close behind him. And I'm doing certain things that he's not, because he's not achievement hunting. He's just playing it.
Oh, is he just kind of running through it? Because I'm gonna 1,000. I keep calling it 1,000. I'm gonna 100% get 1,000 on FF7.
I think I would do it for 7, but not for 9, because 9 there's a trophy where you got to get through most of it, and it would be easy. It wouldn't be hard, but you can get, especially with the modifiers, you have to get to a certain point in the game with like under. Right? Yeah, you gotta get to a certain point of the game in under like 10 hours in order to get a special sword. So I'd have to beat the game, then get to that point again, and there's like a lot of like weird little like grindy little things that I don't know if I would like. The hardest one on there by far, I would imagine, is you have to like do this fucking weird jump rope thing, and it's a mini game where you have to jump rope without tripping, and the achievement is you gotta do it 1,000 times.
I was just gonna say, don't tell me it's 100.
No, there's 2 separate ones. There's one for 100 and one for 1,000.
That's who has got. Oh, no way.
There's weird ways. I'm looking it up. There's weird ways you can do it on like.
I'm looking it up.
There's weird ways you can do it and kind of glitch it out to where it's easier to do it for you on like PlayStation or like PC and stuff like that. I haven't seen anything so far for Xbox. So either way, even still, I've tried a couple different ways that I make it like to like 10 and I suck. So I'm not gonna sit there for 1,000. Not even 100. I was like, fuck this. I'm done. Even still, another achievement is, I think you have to play like 100. You have to win 100 Tetramasters, which is that weird.
He just brought that up to me the other day.
And the card game, it is not as good as Triple Triad on Final Fantasy VIII. Yeah, it's kind of like luck based. There's no way to really tell if you're gonna win. Like the monsters don't have attack points or anything.
What?
It doesn't have like.
See, like the other one has like. I gotta play 9 because I forget that completely.
Dude, it's just arrows on the card, and you put it next to it. And at one point, I'm putting cards next to cards that I'm not winning, but I have no way to tell whether I would win or not. It's really
what's
weird.
going on here?
And it vaguely explains it to you that I don't want to go through, and I'm sure there's ways to.
I don't want to listen to it.
Yeah, no, I don't have the time. Ain't nobody had time for that.
Ain't no one got time for that. I also do want to bring up. I know we're not supposed to do highs and lows, but I just beat Titanfall 2, and that was pretty awesome. So if anybody hasn't played it, go play it. Beat it on Master. Game was sick. Andrew talked me into it. I'm glad you did, sir.
Well, I guess if we're gonna cheat it in there, I'll say my low was related to 9 that I had to. So I went to go play it. It didn't download, even though I fucking told it to on my phone. So I go to play it again later on after I'm done playing PUBG, and I had manually gone in under Xbox, hit download, let it do its thing. It said okay. It's got extra updates. That's fine. Went and played PUBG for like 2-3 hours. Went back to go play it again. Still didn't fucking down. Didn't even. It's like it didn't even register.
Just left your little finger. It's like
yeah. So I had to download it 3 times before I played it. So that was my low. Is that I was really excited that I didn't even get to play it at all till the next day.
That is funny. Well, guys, this has been the end of episode 8 of Last Call Gaming.
Mimosa?
But those mimos. But I do want to say this, guys. This is the last episode, right?
This is the last episode
to enter for Borderlands 3. So next episode, we're going to announce the winner. So you have this episode and all the way up until, I believe it's the 21st or 22nd, to enter that in. And how do you enter the Borderlands contest? It's simple, guys. Go to the comment section of our 3rd video to the 8th video. Enter in hashtag Borderlands3. Leave us a comment. Tell us, hey, guys, you're doing pretty good. And we will enter you into the drawing. We're going to do it.
Suck.
You guys suck. We're going to do a pick. We'll get it, and we'll announce it on the next one, guys. So someone's going to win it, and it might be you. But that is the end of this episode, guys. If you want to follow us on Instagram, follow us at Last Call Productions. If you want to follow us on Twitter, follow us at Last Call PRODZ, which is Last Call Prods. And if you have any questions or comments, or you guys want to send us something cool, send us an email at lastcallproductions@gmail.com. That is it, Andrew. I had a blast doing this episode. So my name is Craig Perales from Andrew Montemayor. Until next time, guys. Cheers.
I just want a good breakfast. But
Why is he trying to drink?
We got beers. We got mimosas right here.
Dude, beers and mimosas. Beer-mosas.
Okay, I just gotta bring Grace with me.
That's fine. Are you coming over? Do you want me to make you a mimosa right now? Are you coming over?
Yeah, let me get dressed real quick and pack his bags.
Alright.
Pack what bags?
The bags.
Oh. Bagging it up, huh?
Right,
Legend of Bagger Vance?
Let's see, he's coming.
Nice.
Sucker.
Sucker. He's ours now, suckers.
Yeah, I said he's bring Grayson though. I just
I
gotta bring
like
Grayson.
baby Grayson.
Oh, let me some Gray.
Dude, I'll babysit. Hey, here's a wing. And Gray's under it.
I know. I still just gotta. What sucks? I gotta go home and clean today.
Well, okay. Well, let's put it in context.
I gotta get ready for tomorrow.
Clean what? Like how much? Is it like your
Oh.
game room? Because like, dude. Okay, so there's still laundry sitting right there. And dude, when I was
been there for like 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When I was hammered drunk last week, dude, I threw all my clothes everywhere, and I came in, and every week I was like, God, I gotta clean my house. But literally, it's just like I gotta clean my game room, and it's literally just hanging clothes up and putting shit away.
Now we like have to like do a shit ton of laundry.
We, as
like,
in you both, or just her?
So, if you made your way here, you're a fan of either one of three things. A, free shit. B, Borderlands. Or C, just me and Craig. Although, I kind of doubt it. Either way, we're doing a contest where we're going to give away a copy of Borderlands 3 to, anyone out there watching, provided a few stipulations, of course. How can you enter? I'm going to go over that right now. And, of course, it's going to be in the description down below in case I go too fast, I mumble, whatever the deal is. So, technically, the competition started on episode 3, which was last week. It's going to run until our 8th episode, which is going to end on the 22nd, I believe, is when it ends. So, what you have to do is be subscribed, leave a like, and leave a comment. In your comment, it could be whatever you want to. Tell me I suck. Who cares? As long as at the end, you put hashtag Borderlands 3, so that way we know that that's what you're entering for. Now, again, you can put that on a video. So, let's say episode 3, that gets you one entry into the contest. Episode 4 will get you another entry, so on and so forth. So, you're going to have a total chances of 6 times that you can enter this thing to try and, win. The other kind of rules, very basic stuff. A, we're only going to ship to the U.S. This is our first thing we're doing. We're not crazy big yet. We don't know all that stuff. We want to make sure it's actually going to get there. So, there it is. If you live in the U.S., this one's for you. 2, or B, I don't know why I said that, is going to be that we aren't anyone special. We don't get the game before release date, so neither are you. We are not going to ship the game until we actually get it the day of. So day and date, we're going to go pick it up, run it down to the post office. We'll send it to you anywhere in the United States. Probably overnight it, maybe even. Get it to you as fast as possible. And, that's pretty much it. That's all you got to do. Few basic rules, and then of course we're going to announce the winner on the 24th, I believe. So either way, this one's for you.